Welcome to Dalma Makes. This video is in two parts as I'm going to show you how I made each of these two items. This is also part of a larger series as I've been collecting little jars and bottles for a while now, and I'm going to transform them all into potion bottles. So let's start with our first project, an ingredient jar. This little jar originally held some garlic granules. It's a glass jar with an aluminium top. I had one small scrap left of this beautiful vintage lace, and I decided to use it on the top of this little jar. So I just carefully traced a circle and then cut it out. Although before I glued it on, I sanded that aluminium cap a little bit just so it has a little bit more tooth for the glue to catch on. As an adhesive, I used a gel matte medium. As I really like to use it with fabric, I apply a thick coat, fully saturating the fibers. Once that's fully dried, I used some acrylic paint to base coat the lace, just carefully saturating the fibers with the paint. This ends up stiffening the fabric a little, but it remains still soft enough for me to manipulate in the exact shape that I want. Once that brown layer is dry, I went in with an off-white color, using my trusty method of leaving the dark recesses with the original paint, bringing a lot of texture and dimension. However, as a final pass on the painting process, I just used some darker brown to dirty up a little bit because it was looking a little bit too pristine, and I like my things to look a bit grungy. After scraping off some remaining sticky residue, I moved on to actually fill the jar. For this, I used some preserved and dyed plant material. I am not 100% what it is. It's advertised as moss, but it's very stringy, but I think it looks really cool. And because this was originally a garlic granule container, it still had a slight odor no matter how thoroughly I washed it. So I added just a few drops of lavender essential oils, and now it smells spectacular. After uniting the jar with the lid, I decided to add a little dangly string around the top, just so that it looks like the jar has been sealed with the cloth and string. Because the string I'm using is a synthetic material, I'm just using a little bit of fire to seal those ends to make sure they don't unravel over time. And I tied on with a couple of knots in the exact position that I want, and tie a good double knot and leave those beaded ends dangling. Of course, the one must label an ingredient jar properly, and instead of an inscription, I'm going to use this beautiful antique looking printout of a seahorse. Let's say that in our fiction, the contents of the ingredient jar is the spines of seahorses. To make this label a little bit more interesting, I roughed off the edges with a blade, and I tore some notches into it to make it look a little bit worn and old. And I also inked the edges thoroughly. Because I'm attaching the label to glass, I'm just using a little bit of glossy accents, which is an air dry resin. And with that, our ingredient jar is ready. I really like the little dangly beads as they make a tinkling noise against the glass. There will be some glamour shots at the end of the video, but for now, let's move on to part 2, a potion bottle. This is once again an upcycled item, as both the bottle and the cap used to be a perfume bottle. This time I actually want to fill the potion bottle with a liquid, so I must get rid of the spraying mechanism cap thing. So I'm using any tool that I can to just get rid of it. I sort of cut through it and pulled it off and forced my way through it. It wasn't easy to be honest, but in the end I succeeded. From the start I knew I didn't want to do too much because the shape of the bottle is so interesting. So I decided to just make a beautiful sparkling liquid to go inside. I used some blue ink diluted with water, and I added a generous helping of glitter paint. The glitter paint is low grade, it's like kids craft stuff, but that's good in this case as the binder completely dissolves in water and all the glitter particles end up free floating. The shape of the bottle and the glitter inside works together for a mesmerizing sparkle, I think. To properly seal this so that it will never leak, I'm using a little wooden disc and more of that air dry resin as it sticks well to glass. I did really like this round perfume cap, and it is gold, it is shiny, but it still looks cheap and plasticky. So I'm gonna sand off the entire finish, well, as much as I can. I can't really get into all of the nooks and crannies, but I need to make a surface that's going to accept acrylic paint. As it had this longer neck, I decided to add just a little bit more decoration to it, just a bit of textural variance, and I'm just going to glue on a segment of lace ribbon. And to do that, I just used hot glue as I was rather impatient, but I'm pretty sure PVA would have worked just as well. I was just very eager to continue with the painting. I base coated it in this reddish brown as I do want to paint the cap gold once again. I just wanted a warmer tone, and I think with the reddish brown underneath it has more of a brassy antique-y vibe, which is very much in keeping with a lot of my home decor. After that base coat has dried, I'm just rubbing on that gold paint with my finger, not going too heavy on the lace part, but kind of burnishing the round part at the top. I want it quite shiny. I don't want it perfect. I want it to look a little bit aged, but also properly metallic. When happy with that, I'm uniting the two pieces just with some more hot glue, as the plastic will stick well enough to the wood stopper that I added. And with that, I think I managed to give a truly magical second life to a used up perfume bottle. It was a little bit difficult to capture on camera, but the shimmer inside is out of this world, and the blue and gold color flecks shimmer so beautifully as the bottle is rotated and the light catches all the segments. Now with both items completed, it is time to add them to my display shelf, finding a home for each where it fits best. And there's a good sneak peek of some of my past projects in this shot. Let me know in the comments if you've seen any of the other ones. And in any case, I really appreciate your feedback. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Bye.